Welcome to It's All Geek to Me, a podcast where two friends experience popular nerdy franchises for the first time. My name is Leah, and this season, my co-host Kelly will be watching my favorite films, The Lord of the Rings, for the very first time, and I'm the expert. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the final episode of the second movie of the Lord of the Rings franchise. I just want to warn you all, Leah is already crying.
Okay, finally it happened. It took a while. We got one cry in the last episode. We got a little extended cry at the end of this movie.
You seem to always just cry at the end of movies regardless of what happens, so I was expecting it.
Even if it's happy, I'll just cry no matter what.
Yeah, you'll just cry that the movie's over. So let's talk about it. This was actually a short final section of the film.
It was pretty short, yeah.
But a lot happened.
I put these together, so I was like, oh, is this maybe too short? Oh, well.
Let's take a quick moment to appreciate Leah for looking through these movies and breaking them down into digestible sections for us to do this show.
I'm doing my best.
You did a great job.
I think I'm doing a pretty good job, yeah.
No, you really are doing great.
Thanks.
And I gotta tell you, even though we are breaking this up, it's very intimidating to watch 3 hours worth of movie, you know? So
yeah.
I think you're making them very manageable, and I appreciate that.
Yay.
So let's dive in. We're starting off at Helm's Deep. It seems as if the fortress has fallen. The king is in shock. He's pretty much given up, and he's not really doing anything.
He's not really saying anything either.
No, not at all.
He's just like standing there.
Yeah, he's kind of just like, yeah, it's over. We're dead. We're dying. And Aragorn's like, you're saying that while people are fighting and dying for you right now. And he is just not caring at all.
Completely in shock.
So it seems like he's, really in shock. Aragorn is trying to figure out if there's a way out for the women and children that are trapped in the caves right now. And it takes a couple of tries to get the king to actually respond to him because he is just absolutely shell-shocked. And they figure out that there is a way for them to go through the mountain pass. And Aragorn has to do what he can to kind of rally the king. So he's like, we gotta ride out. We gotta do it. And the king is like, you want to die together?
He's like, for death and glory?
And Aragorn's like, absolutely, yes, brother, let's do it.
Hell yeah, for Rohan, dude.
And as he's looking up, he sees that the dawn is coming, and he remembers that Gandalf is going to come save them. So he's like, yes, let's rally, let's do it. It's time for us to fight.
He was just like Kelly. He forgot that Gandalf was supposed to come back.
We all forgot for a moment there, I think. So then we have this very cool moment where Gimli is blowing the horn. The king and Aragorn are ready to charge. The Uruk-hai breach the door that they were trying to pound through, and everything just happens at once. They ride out all of the key players who are at Helm's Deep right now, and they are just knocking down all the Uruk-hai on their way down.
Hacking and slashing.
And it was really cool, and it was very impressive to see the king doing that after that moment where it seemed like he had just given up, and I was like, I hate this guy, but he did a pretty good job pulling it together, all thanks to Aragorn, who is a cool guy.
And I think that's why earlier in the film, Gandalf said, they're going to need you, Aragorn. Mm-hmm. I think that Gandalf has a little bit of this, premonition. Because he said this in the first film too, Gollum's part in this story is not yet played out yet. And with this too, he says, Aragorn, they're going to need you. I think he can kind of see maybe what the foreseeable future might hold.
Is going to happen.
Yeah, just options of what might happen.
And he is good to put his faith in Aragorn because Aragorn really is a natural leader, which is such a stark difference from the person that he was when we first met him in the first movie, when he was this really reluctant hero, and now he is just taking charge. He knows exactly what to say to people, and it's just really inspiring to see him,
Yeah. And this is also a change in the book too. Aragorn from the books was always ready to be king. He was not the reluctant hero. And I find this choice more interesting for him to come into his own slowly and with a little bit of reluctance.
I love a good character arc, as you probably know. So I really appreciate seeing somebody become the person that they're meant to be rather than just be that person all along.
Yeah, I agree.
So they're outside, they're knocking down all the Uruk-hai, and we look to the left, he said, or maybe he said to the right, whichever direction we're supposed to be looking in.
To the east, to the west. I don't know.
To the east.
To the east. To the wall.
To the windows,
Thank you.
to the wall. And Gandalf and Shadowfax, his sparkly white horse friend, are there. And they're just glowing, really. And they have Éomer and all the horse lords who are ready to fight for their people.
Yay, they came back.
And we have this massive army that just charges down to fight the Orcai. And it was very cool to see the two armies colliding. But I couldn't help but think the whole way down, that hill was so steep. I was thinking, if one of those horses trips, it's over.
It's over for all of them. Yeah.
For all of them. Everyone's just going to get trampled. It's going to be terrible. But luckily,
that didn't happen.
That doesn't happen. They're very graceful, and they are just knocking down the Orcai left and right, absolutely nuking them. And meanwhile, we get to see that battle with the Ents at Isengard as well.
I love this battle.
So they're also just going off the rails.
They just are destroying them.
Again, nuking everything.
Yeah. I don't think they had a single casualty, to be totally honest.
So there was one guy that was on fire, but then when the flood of the river happened, he stuck his head in there. And I was like, nice to see him survive.
Yeah, because there was like two opportunities for casualties. There was like the other Ent they knocked down. They're like hacking at him, but then Treebeard throws a big old boulder and knocks all them off, so that guy's fine. So yeah, I think the Ents were really set in this battle. And also Isengard is just built in a terrible way next to a river. Why did you build down like that?
Yeah.
What a terrible design.
Yeah.
You were looking for trouble.
And Saruman, meanwhile, is just watching from his little tower and freaking out and weirdly not doing any magic. I'm not really sure why he wasn't trying anything, but he was just watching in horror as all the Ents decide to break the dam and flood the entire city. That whole creepy underground forge where they were making the Orcai, absolutely destroyed,
Flooded.
which is super awesome. And Saruman doesn't do anything about it. He's just watching, horrified. And it seems like his city is down. And then we go back to Frodo still being a little MySpace emo, looking through his hair.
Yeah.
Very creepy like. And Sam's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? And Frodo just jumps out and decides to face the Nazgul. And he holds out the ring. I couldn't tell if he was trying to put it on or if he was holding it out to the Nazgul.
I think he was trying to put it on.
Okay. I also noticed his cuticles were
Terrible.
disgusting.
Real bad.
Yeah, real bad. And then Sam jumps up and knocks him down to stop him from putting on the ring. And Frodo, oh my gosh, this is actually kind of funny. He pulls a sword on Sam, but for some reason in my notes I wrote Frodo pulls a gun on Sam. Guns are not a thing in this.
What?
I was just writing so fast. I guess it just kind of glossed over that part.
Can you imagine Frodo just pulls a gun out of nowhere?
So Frodo pulls a sword, definitely not a gun, on Sam, and Sam starts crying a little bit. And this is probably the point where Leah starts crying.
A little shortly after this part, but I do love the part where Sam is like, it's your Sam. Don't you know you're Sam?
That was actually, I made a little asterisk because that's where I thought the Sam part was going to be you crying.
But no, it's his speech later on that made me cry. Not yet.
And then Frodo drops his sword. He's feeling real bad. Sam is still crying and he is monologuing a little bit. And he's kind of just talking about these great stories and how, you know, they shouldn't be here, but here they are. And in the grand scheme of things, the shadow always passes and a new day will come.
Yeah. I love this speech so much.
And this whole monologue just reminds me that I could absolutely never be a hero. I would have gone home so many times.
Well, that's what I love about it. And I feel like this is so relatable to life, not just, you know, an epic battle, but him saying the thing that's similar in all of these stories is that the heroes always have a chance to turn back and they choose not to and they choose to keep going. And that's what made me start to cry. And I also think it's so relatable to life in just, you know, your endeavors. We could have stopped this podcast after episode 2, but we kept going, even though it was really long to sit and watch this movie and do these podcasts all in one day. We never turned back.
Are you saying that we're heroes, Leah?
I'm saying that we're heroes. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, it is a really beautiful metaphor for, you know, achieving things that you want to do.
In life, yeah, just for anything.
But it 100% reminded me that I am not a hero.
Yeah. Also, this speech, like, even Gollum was moved by this speech. Like, Gollum got a few close-ups in this where he was really experiencing and taking in what Sam was saying. And Faramir was moved as well, obviously, because of what happens next.
Yeah. And Frodo is a little emo here. At this point, I was really starting to feel, if you remember, at the last episode of the first movie, we were kind of joking around about being Frodo and Sam. And at first I had joked that I was Sam and that you were Frodo. And at this point, when Frodo is really emo and he's like, what are we holding on to? I was like, oh no,
You're definitely Frodo. I'm definitely Sam. 100%. No question.
You're definitely Sam. I am a little sad, helpless Frodo. But Sam says that there's good in the world worth fighting for. And Boromir sees this exchange and he is very moved by it. And he has a conversation with somebody there. He wants to let the hobbits go. And the other guy whose name I didn't catch says, your life will be forfeit if you let them go. And he says, then so it will be forfeit.
And a little background on Faramir that I've kind of been keeping to myself up until this moment. There is a lot of cutscenes that we don't get to see of Faramir. They're all flashbacks to the past. Boromir is still alive. Sean Bean was actually in this movie. He shot a few scenes for it. We meet their father. We kind of see what happens before Boromir leaves to go to this, summit to talk about the ring and decide, what's going to happen with it. And his father is horrible to him. In his eyes, Boromir is this ideal son. He's perfect. He's the warrior and all these things. Faramir is much more sensitive. He isn't actually really a warrior. He's only a warrior now because his brother has died and he has to step up to the plate. I do find these scenes really interesting. They are ones I would say I kind of wish were not cut from the theatrical editions because I love seeing this background of Faramir and getting this sensitive side of him. And there was something that Faramir said in the previous section when he decides that he's not going to let Sam and Frodo go and he's going to bring the ring to Gondor to his father. And he says something like, this is an opportunity for Captain Faramir to show his quality, which is a line I believe that his father says to him in one of the cutscenes, saying that he doesn't have any quality. He's got nothing worth saving, Oof. So he really does have this motivation behind bringing the ring to his father because he wants to prove himself to his father. And we don't really get to see all of that. So I agree with you. When I first saw these films, I was like, why is Faramir such a jerk? Why is he not helping? But there is a reason behind it.
He wants his honor.
He wants honor from his father. He wants to be accepted, especially now that his brother is dead and he is next in line to be steward. He wants to feel worthy of that and he wants to feel good in his dad's eyes. But in the end, he did have his redeeming moment and it was not over his death, thankfully. He did redeem himself.
Yeah, I am relieved to see that because I don't want people to only be good on their deathbed.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was glad to see him kind of taking that moment for himself and, thinking about the good of the world over what his father thinks of him.
Yeah, exactly.
So it looks like the Battle of Helm's Deep was won because all of the key members of that battle come away from it unscathed and they're watching the lightning across wherever Sauron is, Mordor. And Gandalf actually says that the Battle of Helm's Deep is over and the battle for Middle-earth begins. And they're watching Sauron over in Mordor with the lightning and everything, and they know that retribution is coming and it's going to be rough. And Gandalf said something that I thought was really cute, which is, all our hopes lie with two little hobbits somewhere in the wilderness.
Yeah, I was like crying throughout all of this, like from when Sam started speaking until pretty much the end. I love how this movie ends. I love all the battles, how they win them, thankfully. All turns out okay.
Now we are left on a little bit of a cliffhanger here because we have that very cute exchange with Sam and Frodo where Sam is talking about the stories and how people are going to talk about Frodo the hero. And Frodo turns around and he says, Samwise the brave. And he's like, now come on, I was being serious. And Frodo's like, so was I. And it's very cute.
It's like Frodo couldn't have gone far without Sam.
Yeah, very, very cute moment.
So good, I love it.
And I wrote, Smeagol is coming too.
Ugh, not him.
And his evil side, his Gollum side is what I've been writing down now, is convincing him that Frodo betrayed him. And he's trying to convince Smeagol to kill them. And he says, kill them both and take the precious. And Smeagol, for some reason, is totally on board with this plan. But he thinks it's too risky. And then he says, we could let her do it. Which I don't know who her is. Who is she?
I don't know. We're going to have to see.
And then he comes out super fake and he's like, well, come on, guys, let's go over to Mordor. And I am just shooting daggers out of my eyes at him as he leads them away and the movie ends.
Yeah, it's a good cliffhanger, not knowing where Gollum's head is at or where he's leading them to.
Or who this mysterious she is.
Yeah, who the mysterious she is. I hope she's cute.
Oh my gosh, of course you would. Leah's only in this for the eye candy.
You know who, like, eye candy that I haven't really talked about yet is Eomer. You're like, nope.
We have opposite types. Just give me Frodo. That's enough.
So what'd you think? Give me your thoughts.
Ooh. You know what? It's still a weird feeling to be experiencing the franchise for the first time. I know I keep saying it, but it is really so interesting to be experiencing what I would honestly consider to be a worldwide phenomenon. Like, this is something that has affected so many people's lives. Obviously, it's so well known online. There's all these GIFs and memes and everything going on that I've been exposed to for so many years without even realizing that it was references to Lord of the Rings. So it's definitely kind of surreal, but I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we started this podcast because I'm really enjoying this story.
Yay, I'm glad.
I'm interested and terrified to see what happens next, and I'd love to give some updated predictions, but I honestly, once again, have no idea what's going to happen. The only thing that I seem to know for sure is that Frodo is going to die. I think that's going to be the inevitable end to this story. I think that he is going to succeed in getting rid of the ring, and he is going to perish. So that's all I have going into it.
I think that's a solid prediction. It is super hard. Even me, like, knowing what goes on, like, they don't really give you a lot to go on because, you know, the Battle of Helm's Deep just ended. The Battle of Isengard just ended. We don't really have any precursor for where the heroes are going to head next to.
Exactly. All we know is there's a mysterious woman who's potentially on Smeagol's side, which I don't know if that means that she's on Sauron's side, or maybe she's some creepy independent third party that also wants the ring for herself. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And I'm also curious to see if Arwen comes back, because I'm still very invested in this Aragorn-Arwen love story. And I was a little upset when I saw him with Éowyn, but clearly she's a little weird for him. And I'm hoping that that doesn't really come to fruition.
Yeah. And, you know, that's interesting too, because the elves that came to help them at Helm's Deep were sent by Arwen's father. So he had a change of heart, and he sent elves to go help, but only after he convinced Arwen to leave. He still wants to protect her over anything he might believe.
Which is really brave and noble of him, especially because I was kind of ragging on him earlier in this season for not wanting to take part. But you know what would be interesting to see, and I don't think it's a possibility, but I'm just going to throw it out there just in case. But if there's some way for Aragorn to become immortal, that would be really cool.
That would be really cool.
And then he could be the king of the rings.
The immortal king of the rings.
And then him and Arwen could be together.
Forever.
Yeah. So those are my predictions.
Yeah, I like these predictions. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what's next?
Well, I have nothing else to say, but thanks again for everyone watching along with us. It's been so fun. We are loving all the reactions, and we just are happy that you all are taking this journey with us. And
I would like to interject really quick. I think that we need to consider The Hobbit. I don't know if it's a movie or maybe it's a trilogy.
It's a trilogy.
And Leah is not on board with it.
I'm not on board with it.
So if you want to see us tackle The Hobbit after this, please start harassing Leah on Twitter at All Geek Podcast. And if you don't, then we'll probably move on to another franchise. So it's up to you.
It is up to you. Maybe we should do a poll and see what people think, because I'm reluctant to say this, but I have actually had people say to me, "Are you doing The Hobbit next?" And I said, absolutely not.
Yeah, I have had people asking me already as well, so it might need to happen.
Oh, gosh. You know what? I've never even seen the third movie of The Hobbits because I hated them so much.
Oh my gosh. It sounds like you need a little It's All Geek to Me in your life.
Oh my gosh. I went to see the first Hobbit movie on a date with somebody else whose favorite films were The Lord of the Rings. It was someone I was dating at the time. And we went to see it together. Very excited for it because we're huge Lord of the Rings fan. He had all the swords. He had Aragorn's sword and Gandalf's sword like on his wall. Big fan. We both left that movie infuriated. Ooh. Ugh, gosh, I can't even explain why I hated it so much.
We have to listen to the people. If the people want us to watch The Hobbit.
I know. If the people want it, I'll do it. I'll give it a second try, but don't expect me to be all happy happy-go-lucky about it. I don't like them, but I will give it a try if that's what people want. I'll do what the people like.
Yes. Well, we've got quite a few episodes ahead of us.
Yeah.
Within this first trilogy, though, so probably going to be another 6 or 7 episodes before we finally find out who will be the Lord of the Rings, and if Bilbo is finally going to propose to his partner
with the ring.
With the ring of power.
I do actually love that. When we were promoting our first episode, that got a lot of laughs from people of Kelly thinking that was what was going to happen.
Hey, it could still happen. You never know.
You never know. You never know.
All right, we'll see you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday. Bye, everybody. You've been listening to the It's All Geek to Me podcast, hosted by Leah and Kelly. Make sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast player and give us a rating. You can also find us on Twitter @AllGeekPodcast. New episodes drop every Thursday. See you next week.